I'm going to go ahead and ask you, after a quarter of the season has been played, what grade would you give the chemistry of the Los Angeles Lakers?
Chemistry-wise, I'll give them a C minus.
Ooh.
But it's coming
We do
together.
that teacher we ain't won in class, man.
Yeah, he's the mean teacher that you ain't want, that he don't grade on the curve.
Yeah, no, it's coming together because at first we all know it was a D because it was looking like it wasn't coming together. But as I watched them more and more, it seems like people are starting to get to their spots better. It seems like they're starting to understand each other. Most importantly, they're starting to understand Russell Westbrook as a point guard. And watching the games from a training standpoint, it was a bit confusing at times. But I think now they're starting to pick it up a little bit. They're not beating teams the way we thought they'd beat teams by 15, 20 points, but they're starting to get it together. So hopefully in a few weeks we can say they're A.
You know, one thing we have to mention is that, LeBron missed a lot of time, right? He only played in 11 games, and I don't know how you're going to be able to build chemistry with one of the best players to ever do it out of the rotation.
Right.
And then on top of that, you're trying to fold in Russell Westbrook. And if you look at Russ over his last 5 games or so, what is he averaging? 26 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists, shooting the ball a lot better. So I'm inclined to agree with you, Lethal. I think their chemistry is going in the right direction. I think, kind of like the Nets in a way, this was something that was always going to take some time over the course of a season. And it's good to see them trending in the right direction.
I'm going to go ahead and give them a C, just right down the middle. They are 500.
Right.
A C is, as mediocre as you can get. Not great, but not the worst. Obviously, you can't be the worst with a team that has LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Carmelo Anthony, and all the other big names that they have on their squad. But yeah, chemistry is one of those things. And we've kind of seen this from time to time with different big threes or super teams that have been formed in the history of the league. I think back to the Big Three era in Miami. That first season, although they performed exceptionally well, they didn't go ahead and win the chip right off the bat because chemistry is one of those things. It has to gel. It has to develop. It has to grow. You have to learn people's strengths. You have to learn their weaknesses, not only as players, but coaches have to learn that too. And you can't always just throw a bunch of guys in the mix that are good friends outside of the game and think that they can play well together.
Right.
That's not always the case. Some styles just don't mesh well. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Lakers if the event rises where, the chemistry does not grow fast enough for what the goal is, because that's a possibility too. They may get better, but they may not get better enough to go ahead and achieve what the goal is, and that is to win the chip. So it'll be interesting to see if they move any pieces around. But on the other side of that, I don't really know what they can do. Their hands are kind of tied. Russell Westbrook has a hefty contract.
Right.
And, as much as a fan of Brody as I am, and I've made no secret of this, there are things about him that teams will be wary of. And we've seen that with the Lakers. We've seen that with the Wizards. We've seen that in OKC. We've seen that in Houston. And I think also, like I said, that salary is hefty. And a lot of people are not going to be willing to pay it. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the event that it just does not work the way they need it to work. But they might just be stuck, truthfully.
You guys are giving them C's, C minus. I'm the cool teacher. You feel me? I'm going to give them a B minus. I'm going to give them a little bit of rope. Like I said, LeBron was out. We got a lot of new guys trying to figure out how to play with each other. And I'm also using that grade as a projection. I think that chemistry is going to increase so far. And I recognize the strides that they've made so far. So, yeah, I'll give them a B minus.
All right. So for topic number 2, we're going to go ahead and head down to the dirty South with the Dallas Mavericks sitting at 10-8. Now, look, when the Mavs traded for Porzingis, somebody that my New York Knicks know very well, he was supposed to be the number 2 alongside Luka. And a lot of people envisioned a championship in the near future for this squad. It hasn't really been the case because they haven't really been able to coexist on the court together. They've had very limited time together. But they didn't really make big changes to their roster either, but they did add, this might be the silver lining, Jason Kidd as their new head coach who can possibly cultivate some new chemistry for this team. Now, Kristian, I have to ask you, a quarter of a way through the season, what grade would you give the Dallas Mavericks?
They call me the cool teacher, not just because I hand out good grades, because I got to call it how it is. The Mavericks are never going to be legitimate championship contenders in my book.
Wow.
I think they are a step below the actual contenders, right? And that's just me calling a spade a spade. I think they're a piece away. I like I like Luka. I love Luka's game. I like KP as that piece. But I think you need one more star in that mix to really contend with a team like if they're going up against the Lakers in a 7-game series, I'm picking the Lakers every time. They just have too many weapons that are going to overwhelm them. And then other teams, right? If you can see the Mavericks versus the Clippers, I still might even look at the Clippers as a team that can get them. I don't think that they have enough. So and you look at bringing in a new head coach, Jason Kidd. He obviously has head coaching experience, but he has to learn these players. The players have to learn him. I think the chemistry is a B, but I mean, I don't see the potential for this team to improve in chemistry to a point where that'll make a difference in the long run. I think they are who they are right now, and until they add another piece to this mix, I don't think we're going to see them do anything more than a second-round exit.
I mean, I think that's fair. I've always had, again, I think a player's best asset in this league is their availability. Sure. And Porzingis hasn't had the best ability or availability rather. And that's been a critique of him since he was in New York, right? And I know, in the past, a lot of people said, oh, it was the Knicks and the curse of that front office and that organization. They don't know how to manage talent. And now you're seeing, look, it really wasn't just the New York Knicks. He's just a guy that, is prone to a lot of injuries in one way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. And Luka, really, the success that the Mavericks have had in these recent seasons has been solely on Luka's back. And yes, you have Tim Hardaway Jr. down there, and he's good for, support and putting up, 20 points here or 15 points there or a couple assists here. But you don't have, like you said, that Robin to Luka's Batman. And the criticism of Porzingis is he can't sometimes be Robin. You can't sometimes be the sidekick. You can't sometimes be that partner in crime. In order to be a true contender, you have to have some sort of stability and some sort of consistency for your superstar. And you're right, the Mavericks really haven't had that.
Right. Lethal, you work with these players. You've played in professional environments. Can chemistry compensate for a gap in talent, or is that gap in talent just going to be too much no matter what?
Yeah, unfortunately, with them being in the West, the gap of talent is, like you're saying, it's just not enough. I love the role players that they have, but it's not the type of role players that's needed to win a championship. And it's starting to show. Luka is doing extremely way too much for them to win. For them to win, I think Luka has to have like crazy numbers, like 30, 10, and 7. And I mean, he's still young. It's like they're already riding him like he's in his prime. And he's, and I just feel like you were saying, Ashley, they just need that next superstar to come in, because all due respect to Porzingis, he's a great player, but he's not that second Robin like you're saying. I can't say that if I'm a coach, every single night I can rely on him to give me that 30 piece and stay healthy. And I feel like once they find out what that piece is, I think then they can take it to the next level. But right now, they're just going to be a fun team to watch because they have Luka. He's very exciting. He's going to get the views that's needed for the NBA. But to win a championship, I don't think they have all the pieces that it takes to win a championship, especially how loaded the West is with the Suns, the Lakers, the Clippers, Utah, et cetera. These teams are loaded from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, well, first I want to get your letter grade. So what would your letter grade be?
Yeah, I was going to hold off on that because you guys called me the bad teacher, but I
didn't call you that, Lethal. That was Kristian.
I'll give them only because I watched them against the Wizards 2 days ago, and I was just it wasn't good basketball to me. Like they're putting up the points. I'll give them a D. And I feel like I feel like it can get better, but I feel like if you continue, like Chris is saying, if you continue to think you could just ride Luka like that, this isn't going to be good basketball. And it's kind of like a good example with the Nets. You can't just continue to try to give James Harden the ball every single possession to get him to save the day. So, I'll give them a D until things change, but they do have the potential to be an A team once they get that extra player and start doing what they need to do.
You know what, Lethal? You inspired me. I'm dropping my grade down. I think I gave them a B. I'm going to drop them down to a C.
I'm so doing now Mavs fans, do me a favor. I did not have anything to do with him changing. I would love to work with your players.